We were based in Florence, a perfect home base for exploring more of the Tuscany region. We set off on our first day trip to Pisa, a small city in western Tuscany. We hopped on a regional train to get there. It's a bit slower than the high-speed option, but it was only a third of the price at around $10 each way, and only took about an hour, making it a super simple and budget-friendly day trip. The plan was to hop a local bus once we arrived to make our way to the iconic Leaning Tower, but Italy had other plans. Turns out today is a holiday, so none of the buses are running here, so we're gonna hoof it.
We get to do extra walking.
It ended up being a really nice 20-minute walk through town, crossing the river, soaking in the everyday side of Pisa. And then suddenly you turn a corner and there it is, the Leaning Tower, somehow still standing despite all logic. The tower feels so much more tilted in person than any photo can really capture. When you stand right at the base or compare it to a perfectly straight building, that's when it really hits you just how extreme that lean is. The tower was built in the 12th century, and one side started sinking almost immediately. Over time, engineers have stepped in to keep it standing safely. The tower is about $23 to climb, but we decided to just admire it from the outside, which really steals the show anyway. There was no shortage of people lining up for those classic tower shots, and we were not leaving without getting in on it. And by we, I mean me. There are several other buildings you can pay to enter around the complex, and we decided to check out the Pisa Baptistery of St. John for about $8. This is actually the largest baptistery in Italy, and it dates back to the 12th century and is dedicated to St. John the Baptist. The architecture is a unique mix of styles, with Romanesque on the lower levels and Gothic details added later on top, telling you just how long it took to build. Up on the second floor, you get a beautiful view looking out towards the Pisa Cathedral across the way. But the real highlight inside is the acoustics. The space is perfectly shaped so sound creates an echoing harmony that feels bigger than just one voice. Every 30 minutes, a staff member does a short demonstration, holding a few notes that build on each other. Next, we made our way to the Pisa Cathedral, which is actually free to enter. Inside, it's packed with detail. There are paintings everywhere you look, layered over centuries of rebuilding after fire damage in 1595. Above the altar, there are stunning gold mosaics that immediately draw your attention, glowing even in the soft light. One of the most unexpected features are the pulpits. There's a green and white marble one from the 17th century that looks surprisingly modern for a building this old. Not far away, you've got an incredibly ornate, two-story carved pulpit from the 1300s, covered in detailed biblical scenes with a totally opposite vibe. Seeing both in the same space really shows how different styles and time periods all came together inside one cathedral. We wandered back through town, passing through the political heart of medieval Pisa, past Renaissance art, and a modern art installation that together made the city feel so unique. Afterwards, we found a spot to sit down and enjoy some lunch, very much needed after all that wandering. We made our way through the streets of Pisa, past the Ferris wheel, and back towards the train station, slowly winding our way out of the city. A nice little loop through history, art, and everyday life in one of Tuscany's most iconic stops. We're headed to the Chianti region for a wine tour, which was one of the things I really wanted to do. It's such a quintessential Tuscany thing to do. So we get to go to 2 different wineries and then just kind of wander around the vineyards, since I'm not that big of a drinker anymore.
Yeah, we got to take advantage of this good weather because it's going to cool off, maybe get a little bit of rain. So this will be a really nice afternoon out.
Beautiful day. We booked through Ciao Florence, and though there were a lot of people at check-in, they were very organized and it never felt chaotic once things got moving. We hopped on the bus and rolled out of the city. The scenery was everything you'd hope for. Rolling green hills, tall cypress trees, and endless vineyards stretching out across the landscape. Our first stop was a small, family-run vineyard tucked into the hills. The current family has owned the property for about 10 years, but the vineyard itself has been around much longer. The owner started us out with a tour of the barn, where they keep goats that are used for both cheese and soap production, which gave it a really personal farm-to-table feel right from the start. This is a small batch artisanal wine producer. They only produce wines made from their own vineyard, use hand harvesting, and keep the production intentionally limited to prioritize quality over volume. After a walk through the property, we headed down into the cellar to see where the wine is made. The wines here are aged in barrels, steel, or terracotta, depending on the varietal. Finally, we came to the main event. We sat down for a full tasting of what the farm produces, kicking things off with their locally made olive oil. It was smooth and had that classic peppery finish. Then came a white blend of Trebbiano and Malvasia, super refreshing and perfectly paired with a soft goat cheese they served alongside it. After that, we tried a rosé with more delicious cheese, and finally their signature Chianti, which paired perfectly with a hard aged cheese and honey. Honestly, we enjoyed everything we tried here. It felt relaxed, unpretentious, and really authentic. After the tasting, we had some time to browse the gift shop and wander the property a bit more, soaking in the perfect weather and the beautiful views. Our purchase at this place, some delicious olive oil. We hopped back on the bus and spent about 20 minutes winding through more of that classic Tuscan countryside before arriving at Tenuta Torgiano, a much larger and more established winery. This place has been family-run for generations, dating back to the 1700s, and produces a wide range of wines exporting all over the world. It's definitely a different scale from our first stop, but still rooted in tradition. Our host gave us a little more background about the vineyard, and we also learned about the symbol of the black rooster, which represents the Chianti Classico region. We headed inside for our second tasting. We started with a white, then moved into 2 reds paired with some snacks. They brought out a few extras for us to try, like a rich 30-year aged balsamic, some truffle oil, and a spicy olive oil, which made it feel less like a tasting and more like a full sensory experience. We wrapped things up with some crunchy biscotti, perfect for dipping into a glass of rosé to end the experience on a sweet note. We headed out, and then it was back on the bus, rolling through those golden hills one last time, a little more relaxed, a little fuller, after a seriously amazing day in the Tuscan countryside.